Yo, what's up, everybody? Welcome to the ITG Gamecast. I'm Drew. That's Steve. And that is Scott Savage joining us. Yo, guys, how was the weekend? How'd it go? What'd you guys do? Anything special? That's fair. That's fair. We'll get there. What about you, Steve? Nice. Yeah, yeah. Nice. Oh, yeah. Cool. Yeah, fair enough, fair enough. It was my birthday on the weekend, so I was able to chill out, relax. Went out for lunch with my wife and son, and dude, we went to what they call a Caesar bar. It was was pretty nice. So I ordered a flat of Caesars. Ah.
And I was very happy.
Yeah, no, it was good. Hey, thanks, Nerdcast. I didn't click over for some reason. But it was great. It was my weekend, involved basically just hanging out, seeing family, doing some stuff with friends, and just one of those weekends. It was nice, and some games, and got caught up on the Halo Season 2. I gotta be honest. Season 2 is a lot better than Season 1. Like, if you saw Season 1, you're like, man, I ain't going back to this. I recommend you jump back into Season 2. It was cool. I'm having a good time watching Season 2, and I'm looking forward to what is next. Like, I wish they would just give it all, and we would have probably just binged the whole thing. Like,
we can do. You just have to wait for it. You have to wait a year.
Yeah, I know.
Before you can start all this.
Well,
episodes.
This is
episode is weekly now, right? So it's just like, man, we were spoiled. They're getting everything all at once, and then all of a sudden, now you gotta wait. I was like, yeah.
This is why I just waited like 2 years to start watching Game of Thrones. By the time I started watching it, it was like, Khaleesi's having dragons already, and I'm like, all right, I don't have to wait.
Yeah, fair enough.
Yeah, now I do kind of want to try this Halo Season 2, but I don't know. Can I trust you, Drew? Is it really not that bad?
No, dude, I actually recommend it. Brad right now joins us over on Twitch and says, you should watch Shogun. I hear good things.
Oh, I've heard that's good,
Yeah, I've heard great things. But we've got quite the show today, quite the podcast, Gamecast, whatever you want to call this. It's 2024, the worst year in gaming. There's quite the little discussion to have about that. But first up, let's get into it. Each and every week, we're playing something. Guys, what are we playing? Steve, I'm kicking to you. What have you been up to? What you been gaming on?
Well, like I said, I've been playing a preview game that me and Scott are doing. That's coming up pretty soon, and it's Wrath, Eon of Ruin.
Yeah.
And I'm kind of enjoying that one, which is on PC. I've been playing Hellblade Senua's Sacrifice. Sorry, get with TV. So that is really cool. It's very I'm trying to work out if it's an action adventure, but it's more story. Like,
are you using headphones?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
I've heard that's the way to do it.
Yes, because your character suffers a bit of psychosis. So she does hear different voices, which it's weird when you're fighting, because it will say, you hear voices like, watch out behind you, or finish him off, and things like that. I'm really enjoying that. And obviously last week, another preview game we did was Winter Survival.
Survivor.
Oh, yeah.
You've just been all work and no play.
Yeah, which it could have been better on that one.
Early access.
I'm glad to I hope this new one's not giving you so many weird glitches and bugs and stuff. You've had some bad luck with that.
Yes, just a little bit. But yeah, I've been enjoying those games.
Nice. What about you, Scott? What are you up to? What are you playing?
I've been bouncing around between a couple different crews for Skull and Bones now. I almost said Sea of Thieves. I'm still working that one out of my brain. I apologize, Ubisoft. I really do like the game. But I'm checking in with our friend Nate and Ben, and I'm far ahead of them. And then next day I'd play and they're far ahead of me. So we're doing this back and forth kind of tug of war, and that's going to keep me going through the game for a while. But other than that, we get some good nightly PUBG or Rainbow Six, and I've been having a good time with that. We had a lot of wins lately on PUBG.
I can't believe it, man. Yeah, we're
it's Crystal, really.
Dubs. It is. Yeah, I'm always dead, and she's still alive, carrying us through once again. But yeah, that kind of leads me into what I've been playing. PUBG, like you say, right? A little bit of Siege. I've wrapped up my season, so I'm done. I'm like, okay, can we get on?
You got 100%, haven't you?
I 100%ed it. Yeah, yep. I got all 100 tiers, right? So now I'm going, man, I got days to wait. Like, I'm just kind of hanging out, going, what's next? Where am we getting next season? So once the next season drops, I'm there. I'll be there on day one. I'll buy the pass, and away we go again, right? So it's just kind of, at this point now, I broke the 1,600 hour mark on the game. So
yeah,
it's an addiction. It's just one of those games, right? That just every time feels a little bit different, even though some games are better than others, and it's just the way it goes. But and then PUBG pulling out some wins, man. Like, I'm just like, wow, and it's been cool. There's nothing like a sniper shot. There's just, that is my go-to. I love the M24, the Car 98, and the way that just pops. Oh, it's
Oh,
so
especially
satisfying.
if it's got that chunky sound and I hear it go off next to me and I know you got somebody.
Yeah,
Do you feel
yeah.
the same way when you play Battlefield,
No,
Scott? Like
I
Sniper or
haven't
you, Drew, as
uh,
well?
I haven't had that feeling in quite a long time, but that's kind of what you chase with Battlefield. I'm chasing that feeling
I find it
since 2012.
But I
Just,
find Battlefield is just faster pace, so you don't have that the slower speed of PUBG, really, right? So
Yeah.
for me, but you do line up that snipe shot, and it is like, gotcha. I don't know if you guys have seen the retired sniper. He's posted up like
Yeah.
these. Dude
Yeah.
is just popping people from like
Yeah.
miles and miles away.
He just giggles himself. Yeah.
It's
Yeah,
awesome.
it makes me a little uncomfortable how joyful and giggly he is. Only because I know that man had that job.
yeah,
He
yeah,
did.
yeah,
I've
you
seen
used to
him.
do
Yeah,
this.
he has admitted today. That's what he used to do.
Yeah,
He was a sniper, and he tells you how to line the crosshairs up and
yeah.
how to
Yeah,
set your sight up and things like that. And he goes, "Oh, what's this one? 2 headshots or 1 shot, 2 kills, sort of thing."
Yeah.
Oh
It's like-
yeah.
It's
Yeah, he's
incredible
good.
to watch, isn't it? Yeah, it's very cool. I saw him. He was going, okay, according to these lines on the reticule, that means I should be this distance away. And then,
Yeah.
and there it goes. It's like,
Ding.
oh, man. Wow, that's incredible. But yeah, I'm back in. I'm all in on Predecessor 2. Predecessor, I'm daily basis, right? Daily basis. Is whether I'm there for 1 game or 2 games, and then I bounce over to join my wife to play some PUBG, or yeah, I played Apex last night with her and
I was
our
gonna
good friend
ask you
Kyle.
about that.
Man, I do not like that game. I
No.
actually do not like Apex. It is so bullet spongy. It is so the opposite of PUBG for me. But my wife likes it, so I'll jump in there. We'll play 2, maybe 3 rounds, and like, okay, I just can't do anymore. It's just I gotta unload a clip. I'm not very good at the game either, right? So there's that. But it really just
You
it
have to-
doesn't have the feeling that I'm after.
You have to pretend it's a paintball gun that you have, and then it
Ah.
starts to make sense, but it's still not the same kind of gameplay. I understand.
Yeah, no,
I've heard that complaint about Halo, but Halo's just it gets a pass from me,
yeah. Well, it's got nostalgia eyes on you, right?
and I know what to expect. It's
No, for sure. Like it's one of those things. So yeah, I'll jump in just to change it up a little bit. But the biggest thing for me right now is Skull and Bones. I'm past the 40-hour mark in that game, which is just nuts to think of. Which then is gonna lead us into in or out, guys. There's always something we're all hot on or not liking so much. I'm gonna kick this backwards, and we're gonna go back now to Scott. Scott, in or out? What do you got?
I'm gonna be negative today.
Ugh.
It is somewhat the
Nelly.
theme of the show. Yeah, I'm out on something that is kind of sweeping through the gaming community right now, and that is survival crafting games. It's not that I don't like them all. It's not that I have a kind of a rational distaste for it or anything. I'm wondering, when does it end? Not that we don't need to stop making them entirely, but every series seems to have its own crafting survival now, to the point where we're talking about Terminator getting one, and that's where I pulled some of my hair out by accident. I went, what? Why does that need to be a survival crafting game? I can kind of understand if you put it in the war. Okay, Judgment Day. It's John Connor fighting the robot. Okay, fine. But just make that
It's
I
like
want
they're
that
just
game to be
doing
like
a
Gears of War,
twist.
not a crafting.
It's like they're trying to do a twist on it, but try and do it on what's hot at the time. And at the moment, there's
Yeah.
survival games, and you've got Power Watchers come out again. It's still that building and collecting and that kind of stuff. And we just reviewed one, didn't we? The Winter Survivor one.
Yeah.
So again,
Yeah.
that's what's sort of hot at the moment. It's either that or shoot 'em up, I guess.
No, for sure. What about
Well,
you,
team
Steve?
up.
Enshrouded came out and it was cool, but Enshrouded is just almost forgotten now. It's sadly.
For me, unfortunately it's going to be negative, and it kind of goes on what Scott kind of said. And I'm out on, unfortunately, games that we get to preview that are totally broken, and I feel sorry.
Oh.
Do you know what I mean? When it doesn't go the way they think it's going, and we have to talk about it or say recommend or
Yeah.
not recommend. And I feel bad sometimes because they're small group. There's they spent 5 years. It's their dream. It's their baby. It's everything else. And we play it, and this controller doesn't work. The glitches are coming up. It's unplayable, or it crashes.
I think
Why
there's
release it? Yeah,
Well,
is
yeah.
it like a crunch or something? Why not wait till it's at least better? If you know what I mean.
Absolutely.
More playable.
I think there's something there. There's a fine line of early access launch and just not being ready to launch at all, right? And
Yeah.
there's some games that just kind of cross that barrier just to get it over. Hopefully, pull in some money and maybe to then help with the production of the game. I understand that's the whole purpose of early access, but that then becomes negative on our side because the game is just it's so buggy or broken that it shouldn't even gone to early access yet. It just needs to cook a little bit longer, right? Keep the development going, but at the end of the day, you got to keep the lights on somehow. Pulling in the community might be that way.
And then you get people with their reviews as well. You know, if it's in early access, like I said, or beta, you know, this game is broken, you know, and then it starts getting the negative comments. And, you know, we've played games and it wasn't ready. I think me and you've done one, Drew, and it is like, not recommend, but leave it maybe another 6 months to a year.
Yeah.
And then this will be an awesome game.
Well, and that's why we don't score an early access game. Because it's not done, right? It's not ready for a score. It's still in development. So what we do instead is we either recommend it or not recommend it. So recommend, sometimes it's just like stay away. Just completely stay away.
Yeah.
Or the recommend is with like an asterisk of it's just not quite ready yet. So keep an eye on it, but just don't buy it yet, right? It's just kind of one of those things. And as they progress, which then it's funny because it leads me into my positive. I'm the only one positive today. Come on, you guys, you're killing me.
Hey, we need that.
That's our two negatives.
That's I canceled you both out. My in is funny because as Scott's out, I'm all in on the crafting survival genre right now. It is so hot. I'm enjoying it. I love this whole
You don't even
genre.
like Pal World.
I didn't like Pal World, but that's just because it's Pokemon with guns, and I'm not a fan of that. So it's just a preference, right? But Enshrouded, love it. Absolutely.
I love it.
Love it, right? I'm all in on Shredded. Brad brings up Nightingale. Absolutely something that's on my radar. Haven't been able to jump into yet. A new one right now that I've downloaded the demo. I've just been so busy I haven't been able to get to it yet. Is this new Robin Hood Sherwood Builders it's called. I saw this coming out of like nowhere and I'm like, what is this?
This is another building game.
It's a build. You build Sherwood Forts. I'm like, I'm so in on this. I am loving it. It's like, we know Drew wants survival building stuff. Here you go. And it's just like one game after another after another. Skull and Bones has this hook in me right now where it is a matter of going out, looting up, and then crafting to get to the next ship, get that next cannon that I need, or a mortar, or this, or that, and armor, or and it's just.
And what about the season pass? You said you got the season pass.
I got this, dude. I love the season pass. It is such a cool. There's 3 different tiers to Skull and Bones season pass, right? Which then allows you to go and focus on which way you want to go. The first one, I think it's Quartermaster, which is where I'm going right now, is all about like making your ship look cool, and it's got this like
castles
kraken with the tentacles going down that wraps around your ship. I'm like. This is me. This is where I'm going. I'm going to grind this out, right? And I'm in there for that hook, that loop, that grind of going out, crafting, building, resources. And you just hanging out with my friends and my brother, right? Like that's the other side of it too, is that there's not a lot of pressure in some of these games where sometimes we are like the PUBG, the Rainbow Six, right? Where it is at such a high stake competitive level. And when you pull it off, nothing feels better, right? Like Predecessor, man, there's days that I'm like, this is the greatest game in the world, and others where I'm like, just like, what happened? It's just like, what happened? Brad says Pacific Drive is another sim, upgrading your car. That game looks.
I want to play. I want to play Pacific Drive so much, and maybe that flies in the face of what I said about survival games, but that's not crafting.
Eat your words, Scott. Eat them.
All right, hold on. I've heard that I've heard that. Not my joke, but it's a survival game.
That is horrible.
It's a road light, if you will.
No. That's it. Scott's gonna get muted in a second. Keeps this up. Been hanging around my wife too long. It's
yeah. We've started trading some dad jokes. It's not going well.
It's so bad. But yeah, I'm all in right now on the survival, craft, and building stuff. Right, Enshrouded really kind of set that on fire for me because you can go right down. And it's funny because every now and then I'll scour YouTube to see what other people are making. unbelievable some of the stuff that they've crafted. They're making these huge mansions. I built a big place to get started. I got nothing on these people, like nothing.
Yeah.
It is awesome. It is so cool. Some have them like sunk right into the ground. This one has this huge place.
You can do that.
Huge place, and it just goes up. It keeps going up, and then when you think they're done, they go underground too, and they've got this whole cave system, and everybody like, so you go out and you gather like your blacksmith and all these people that help you build and loot up. Well, they all are down there in the basement kind of thing, like in a dungeon.
Oh, that's cool.
That was cool, man. But yeah, I'm all in on that stuff. So yeah, it's definitely been a pretty hot start for me.
I just wonder, where does it end? If this trend continues going, Warhammer is kind of coming up and becoming popular, kind of crossing over with everything. Even Power Wash Simulator has a Warhammer edition. So are we gonna get a survival crafting game in Warhammer? I'm gonna pull my hair out.
I don't know, but so there's some of that element coming from what we've seen, what we've scoured, and what's been leaked in Assassin's Creed Red. There's a building mechanic coming, right? And I'm like, oh no.
Yeah, there is something.
I could be in big trouble with Assassin's Creed Red when I've got to go out and loot up. Did you guys watch the preview of No Rest for the Wicked?
No.
Oh, I think I might have seen part of that one.
Moon Studios, right? The team that brought us Ori. Amazing games. No Rest for the Wicked, one of my most anticipated titles this year, comes out next month. Absolutely looks stunning. The art style is incredible. And then they're like, yeah, you can get your own house and then you can build stuff for it. And I went, crap. No, don't do this to me now too. Right? Because it's going to be that, here we go.
That reaction. That reaction is me when I'm playing Ubisoft games. I'm playing Ubisoft games and they're like, here, collect all these. And I go, oh. And then they hit you with another 3. And I'm frustrated because I know I'm going to do it.
What were you going to say, Steve?
Oh, I can't remember. Sorry.
I
was just too busy listening to you guys.
No, yeah. So it's been an interesting year, which leads us into topic of the show. You guys ready? Mm-hmm. Is this the worst year in gaming? Is the biggest question, right? Is this the worst year due to numerous things? Layoffs, right? Take a look at it. This year, just the same as last year.
I think it's almost at the same numbers now, yeah.
If not past, right? It's just the year of 2023 of layoffs has continued into 2023. Then we're getting into game cancellations, studio closures, and it just keeps going on and on and on. What were they banking on? Games of service models. PlayStation, right? Really banking on the games of service. This is a big deal, a huge deal. All of a sudden they go from, we're having 12, then they up the number, and then they completely halved it into 6, and now now they're closing studios over PlayStation. It's just been a heartbreak of a starting year. Even though the games themselves that have been coming out have been on fire, right? Like, that's the other side of it. You take a look at what's been coming. Wow, what we played, Prince of Persia: The Lost Crown. In my game of the year discussion, right? Like, if I can still remember that I played that by the time we get all the way through the year, like, it's going to be up there.
I still have to finish it. I'm right at the end. The boss fight is so hard.
It's incredible. Console exclusives right now, a big deal, a huge deal. Because why? PlayStation doesn't have any when it comes to first party exclusives coming out. Nintendo, very light.
But
Xbox does. That's right, Scott.
They're giving theirs away now.
Well, that's the other side of it. So, guys, let me ask you, Steve.
Yeah.
Is this the worst year in gaming?
Yes. And thing is, at the moment, it's another thing going on, like Warner Brothers, like canceling their film. I think today, like, obviously it was Batgirl. It was $90 million to make, but they cancelled it because it was too good for streaming or too expensive for streaming, but not expensive enough to make it a AAA theater going. So they dropped it. And they did that with another Warner Brothers film. I think it was Coyote versus Acme.
That's right, yeah.
Like Whitey Coyote. So my question is, again, when I was reading the article, they said it was a tax write-off for the Batgirl. So is this the same thing with in the gaming industry? Because obviously to get to where it has, someone has to think of the story. Then it's all drawn up, I guess, like on boards and everything.
Concept phase and
the concepts, the storytelling, and then it goes into production of basically input into a computer and get all the graphics. I know there's a lot more, and I'm just sort of shorting it down a bit. So what happens when they go after 3 years and then all of a sudden say, right, we're going to lay people off and we're not going to release this game? They must be making some money. They can't be losing that much, I would have thought, for them just to drop it after all this work or shelve it.
So let's talk about Jim Ryan for a second, because
Steve's reminded me of Respawn as well.
He comes out, right, and unfortunate news: we're gonna lay off how many was it? 900 people.
700, 900, something like that.
Right? I'm getting mixed up because EA just laid off like 700 people. So,
oh yes, I'm
right?
confusing.
And then we get into what Jim Ryan's doing, and then Jim Ryan goes days before to London studios, takes a giant picture, posts it up. 3 days later, closes the studio down. You know he's making a dime, right? You know he's making something.
He gets paid for stuff like that, but I mean, that does not make it good.
I mean, is this due to acquisitions of buying companies?
Yeah.
Getting all their contacts, and then all say, "Yep, we don't need you now. Thanks very much." Yeah.
But London Studios,
some companies do that.
Truth,
yeah.
Right. Like a great VR game. That's the other side of it. They take a look at PlayStation's VR side. There isn't one. Right.
No,
they're actually going to bring it now over PC. So they've more or less kicked that in, just like the Vita, and let that die. So when you take a look at the lineup, okay, layoffs, closures, cancellations. Like this year's starting off really crappy. Like it sure does suck this year. It sure does seem like it's going to be one of the worst years of gaming. But when you take a look at the gaming side, look at what we're playing already. Some of the biggest games around. Power World, millions of dollars. Enshrouded, 2 million players right now. You know, Prince of Persia, Lost Crown, huge success coming out of that one. Skull and Bones, whether you like it or not, is actually still hanging on. I'm very curious to see where the future lies.
I'm wondering,
but it's
I wonder if that's turned
right?
profitable now. After 8 years, I doubt it's profitable, but bouncing well out of release, hopefully.
And then, like Brad says, you talk about Embracer now selling off studios. Saber, $500 million. That's probably the best thing for Saber. It's a crappy move to be for where you come from. Embracer was shutting down one team, one studio, one game after another, laying off thousands of people. Right? Yeah. At this point, we just want everybody to come in and buy up Embracer and just get rid of the company and move on. Now, Gearbox is in discussion too. It's, for me, what it comes down to, it's the worst year for developers.
Yeah.
I think is really what it comes down to, right? Am I wrong, guys?
I have one thought to pose to you, because I wasn't around. I was not yet born for another 9 years, but there was the video game crash of 1983. Do you recall that being a big? Do you have much memory from that?
Man,
Were you paying
I
too much
that
attention?
old.
Were you like 5 years old? If that,
I.
4, man. I was 4 years old. I was like, what do you want from me? Come on, how old do you think I am?
Right. Well, okay. Let me reframe that though. Do you have more understanding, being, that's that much more older than me? I wasn't around. I wasn't forming thoughts for another decade after that. 2, if you ask my parents. But
I heard about it, right? But those were different times. Those were a time when, if you were a gamer, you were some nerd in mom and dad's basement playing games, right?
Yeah, you're right.
Like there's a stereotype back then. Where
and there wasn't many like consoles or anything like that. It's only later on, wasn't it? Like for me, Steve, I had Commodore 64, but the Spectrum was out.
From my understanding, Steve, you hit the nail on the head there. The consoles was what pulled that crash out of happening. From my understanding, from what very little I've learned, it was Nintendo with the NES, and the Nintendo NES is what kind of proliferated console gaming. And I suppose Atari
was still like
that
computers. It still started off on the PC because it was Amstrad come out with their disc. I remember going around a friend's house and playing games, or like say the Spectrum, and then obviously then you had Atari as well. Was that right? ColecoVision. My buddy had one of them.
My parents had a Coleco. That was my very first gaming console was a Coleco. My parents had one and would play until 3 a.m. They had Ladybug. My dad had a baseball game we played, and then there was like Dungeons and Dragons. You were literally a block going around in these. Yeah, Brad brings up
like the
ET.
bat and ball, the tennis, like the bat and ball, the tennis.
Yeah,
You guys are reminding me of the.
We had these dials back, like man, oh man, where you take a
Like
look at.
are-
you battered.
You reminded me of Wolfenstein, the first one.
Oh man, it's not even close to going way back way. But nowadays, right? You take a look at today's technology and today's gaming industry, we're at a whole new high, right? Gamers are mainstream. We're not some dork in your basement. Are you kidding? We're one of the biggest industries around. Like there's nothing to laugh at when you talk about the size of the video game industry. When GTA 6 launches next year, watch out. Like just watch out.
That is a cultural touchstone of
Like,
many.
Absolutely. You take a look right now at the GTA 6 trailer. It has 100 and I think last I looked it was like 170 million views.
Yeah.
I want to look at that right now. Actually,
There
I'm
is
just gonna bring that
nothing.
up.
This
else
game has to
around
be
that gets like that.
perfect. This game has to be perfect when it comes out.
So here's the thing. This year doesn't look all that bad, right? Like I just talked about No Rest for the Wicked. It's coming into early access. We talked about Xbox coming out with 4 games this year. PlayStation, nothing. What have they done? PlayStation's set themselves up that they're launching second party exclusives, right?
Yeah.
Final Fantasy, for example, Rebirth. We just reviewed it. It's up. You can check it out on our YouTube channel. You can check it out on our past channel. It's right there. It hits, right? People are clamoring all over for this game. People love the Final Fantasy franchise. So PlayStation knows going in, going, hey, our studios are not ready next year. Everything came out the year before, and we hit huge numbers. Spider-Man comes out last year. Spider-Man 2.
Yeah.
Massive game for PlayStation, right? What do you have this year? You have nothing. That is, to me, I think they're then banking on that games as service. Something was going to drop this year that didn't quite make it. It got shoved. We get talking about the developers getting laid off, shut down. Everybody over, like, from Insomniac to Naughty Dog to London Studios getting closed, Fire Spray, like, the list goes on and on.
Yeah.
But
do you think they're doing the PC thing as a filler to sort of bide the time, until they got something ready to?
Steve, how long do you think it's going to take PlayStation to realize that they should launch day and date? Helldivers 2, prime example. Like, again, this year, Helldivers 2, one of the most successful games this year. So successful that they had to cap their servers. Right? PlayStation, what do? They go day and date, PS5, and PC. Yeah. Does that change the future? Like, we've talked about this on a podcast before. Does this change the future of them? Is this where they go now? Do they pull into Phil Spencer going, we need to be in more places? This is why they're bringing Xbox over to PlayStation, why they're bringing Xbox games over to the Switch, right? No longer
what if that goes back the other way?
Yeah.
Well, there's no exclusives this year for PlayStation. How much do you think that hurts them? Does it really hurt them at all? Okay. Helldivers 2 didn't, right? Again, not a first-party studio. Massive numbers. Well, it's a quiet year for games.
You've illuminated something though, which is that I think it's not the fault of the consumer that we're into this mess, and maybe that's just me trying to throw my blame away. How much money do I spend on games? But the thing is I don't think it matters. That's not what's destroying the industry, because if you look at 2023, you look at this year, this is the best games we've had in a very long time, with the biggest numbers of consumers, to my understanding. I'm sure I'm wrong on some small details of it, but it seems like more people than ever are playing games now, and they're loving it. So it's not a matter of more people need to buy the product for it to work. It's that the production of the product needs to be throttled in some sort of a way that makes it better business, more sustainable. And to that, I think we've seen Sony kind of come, well, they've kind of done a full circle now. They're going to go all into games as a service, because maybe we'll get 1 or 2 of those that'll fund the rest of the company, or they've kind of they've lost confidence with that now, and they're trying to reverse course. So I think we're seeing a bunch of management kind of try and take stock of what's going on after the pandemic that just did everything to our planet negative in the last 4 years, basically.
Well, I was going to sort of mention about like the handheld consoles, because you're talking about consoles, wondering
that's another one.
Future, because obviously PlayStation now, they've done a better service for the cloud, basically streaming their games. they've supposed to tweaked that a little bit better, I believe. But then they've done a sneaky thing of like having their handheld that you have to actually own the PlayStation 5 for you to work though.
Yeah, and
That's
that's
very
all
clever
through
marketing. Do you know what I mean? So you still have to have a console if you want to still play the handheld, if you want to still play the games.
Well, Brad says it's crazy how quiet Nintendo has been. Yes, we are getting Switch 2 next year, but other than that, they're silent because they're in the same boat right now with PlayStation of they don't have anything, right? There is no big Mario game this year. There's no Zelda game coming this year. Like, where are the big titles? What are they holding for? They're holding for the Switch 2, which is next year, which a lot of us were banking on this year. This was the year we should have got the Switch 2, right? The Switch is so old right now, right? And without having the Switch 2 launch this year, it is going back again to, man, what are we playing this year?
Yeah, but can you imagine if they released like the Switch 2 and had Mortal Kombat 1?
Oof.
That looks
and it works
really good, and it worked, and it was bad. How much would that boost Nintendo in the general if this is, you know, they're coming out AAA title straight with a new handheld console thing? You know, that would have.
I think this is I think that's all part of the calculation, Steve, and I think that's why it's waiting till next year. And I'm going to loop this back to the great crash of '83. It was 41 years ago. You take that, and Nintendo can be the savior again. And Nintendo came in with the NES and saved the industry back then. But like to your point, it was a different time. It was Atari was the old, Nintendo kind of came in and was the new and kind of saved the industry. But in this case, it would be a mobile proliferation. And I'm not sure that Nintendo is going. Nintendo kind of already was the progenitor of that, all the way back to the Game Boy, if you want to go back that far. But the Switch kind of put mobile gaming in the market again, and that might be the kind of industry shift that some indescribable change happens in between then and now, and somehow we're saved from this crash.
The thing is, Nintendo, the next gen Switch has to be top of its game. Because in the next follow of years, PlayStation, Xbox are going to be releasing their new consoles, then Nintendo's going to be dated again. You know what I mean?
No, I absolutely agree, Steve. You are not wrong. Nintendo will not do that.
2 years beyond.
They will be outdated on launch day, and that just kills me inside to think of. But Nintendo does what Nintendo does. They just go to their own beat of the drum, right? It's their path, and they've carved themselves out something. Where Brad comes in again and says, think we get a stealth drop of Mario Odyssey 2 or Metroid Prime 4? No, I don't think we do.
I think that's launch day.
I think so as well. I think launch day, launch window, right? I think you need to launch with the Mario because why? Because that's the Nintendo staple, right?
Yeah,
I think that's what Nintendo...
mascot.
Exactly, right? So I think that's what you do, and then we see Metroid Prime. I wouldn't be surprised if Prime is finished, wrapped up, and put on the shelf to the side, waiting for launch. I think that's what that game has been in development forever, and I think that's all they're waiting for right now. Is okay, let's get all of our ducks in a row, so that way when we do launch, day one, you're getting this game, you're getting a Mario game, you're gonna get this game, you're gonna get that game. Okay, cool. We launched 4 or 5 first-party titles. That's a huge launch, which is like a lot of Nintendo's first-party studios. I can't see them doing that. I think what they want to do is highlight 2 of their first-party studio companies, right? Come out with 2 massive games, a Mario game for sure, and something else. I don't think it's Prime 4. I think they wait 3 months and then give you another reason to come back to your Switch 2 for Prime 4, right? You want to pick that up. You're going to get back into, okay, I bought this device. What's going to keep going? Why do I want to do this instead of go over to my new Xbox or over to my new PlayStation? Rumors right now, PlayStation 5 Pro, right? Xbox new console as well. Sounds to me like Xbox is the digital only console version coming, but PlayStation, for the rumors that are hitting right now, it's all going and all pointing towards a new Pro. But Nintendo comes out dated, and it just
Is this a new one? Is it backwards compatibility? Can you still play the old Nintendo games? And also, didn't you have issues with the Nintendo shop buying stuff off of it? Was it a bit bare and empty? And
Nintendo shop is horrible.
Yeah. Are they going to keep the same format on the new one? Because that's going to put people off as well.
It's strange
Needs a whole
because
revamp.
these seem like bad management decisions on the part of Nintendo, having being so dated on release date, basically having really old, dated to be polite, online functions. But these are the actions of a company that's seemingly the most stable out of all of them. As much as they seem kind of strange and they don't seem to match their competition eye to eye, almost as if they don't perceive them as competition. But Nintendo seems to be the most solid financially throughout all this flux and flow. So I'm
Yeah.
hoping that Prime 4, if that is indeed finished, and I think you might be onto something, I hope that is being brought into that calculation very carefully, because Nintendo does what Nintendo does best, and that's stay afloat. And I
Yep.
have to hope that they really are the savior of the gaming crash, I think.
Brad says Nintendo's two generations dated on launch, but will sell like wildflower or wildfire. Absolutely.
Yeah.
And he says he's gonna buy one too. Dude, we'll be there. Like, we'll be there day one as well. Or you're not gonna be alone, right? But so then, does this lead into the discussion now changes from 2024? I think we've declared is two things. One, it's the worst to be a developer. If you were looking at games right now and you're going through school and you're getting in the games industry, is this something you really want to do? Like, if you're taking a look at that, Scott, would you really want to become a game developer right now when you're seeing one studio after another, people with years and years of time in the industry, creative knowledge, getting let go, and then you take a look at it, Steve, and go, man, look at all of these people right now without a job. Is this something I can compete with?
Of course not, because where these people going to go? These have got more experience. All these talented people. Yeah. And it's not like I can say, oh, I'm going to jump to Naughty Dog, see if they're looking, because they're laying off. Oh, we'll jump to this place and break. No. Yeah, where they're going to go?
Doing it, yeah.
That's just it. You're just starting to see a lot of, well, we've been seeing studios pop up left, right, and center for a long time, but we're seeing more and more now because of the layoffs. They're like, well, why not take our chances on our own, go into our own studio and do it that way instead?
Okay, yeah.
Right?
Maybe
like,
a lot of people will do that.
Man,
collaborate and do something.
Well, even some of the older companies are starting to break away from their embracer groups and stuff like that. Toys for Bob, I believe they bought themselves out of that
Activision Blizzard deal. Weird.
Yeah, but now they've decided to still work with both Xbox and Activision, but they kind of just got the best of both worlds somehow. But yeah, we're seeing a lot of that push towards independent, and I think that's going to be the trend coming out of this.
How big is an independent studio like this? I've seen this discussion come up.
That's a good
point.
What
makes an independent, right? If all of a sudden now you have 100, 200, 300 people, are you really independent? Like that seems more like.
I think do you have a publisher that owns you? But then a lot of companies aren't also self-publishing, so are they all considered indies? I'm not sure how that works.
It's a gray line without a doubt, right? So let's look to the future, guys. If this is such a crappy year for developers, how do we turn it around for next year? How do we make 2025 better? Or how do we tail off 2024? Is there a solution to all of this layoff, cancellations, and closures? Anything?
Ooh, I don't know if there's an answer to the layoffs, cancellation aspect of it exactly.
Only
but
the
I think
powers that be know.
Well, there's some corporate heads that are freaking out right now trying to figure this out as well. But I think I think PlayStation might be kind of onto something. We're seeing everybody almost come to the same idea, which is games as a service in some capacity. And I'm going to say Sony might be on the way out of that thinking, but we have other things like Call of Duty has its own launcher. They're going to be packing all the Call of Duty games into that. Assassin's Creed Infinite, we just talked about that. Infinity, apologies if I get the wrong. The concept remains the same. It's going to be different things installed into that, much like an update instead of an entire turnaround development cycle. And I think what that is to try and eliminate the year on year development cycle under one project, because then you get things like Skull and Bones that's just so expensive over a decade that it can't hope to make its money back.
Well,
but if it goes to an Assassin's Creed kind of thing, you're going to get some of those ideas that, okay, this isn't going to work out, scrap it. we'll move on to another thing, and it kind of
Well, I
functions more
mean,
of an update in shorter time frame. And I think that'll kind of bring the cost down.
well, do you think they're doing like obviously layoffs for new projects, but do you think there's going to be more remakes and remasters
Oh man, I hope
games
Oh,
coming out?
That's a good point.
Because
the
it's going to be
security-
a lot cheaper. It's going to be a lot cheaper, isn't it, in the long run? And they can still make just as good money if they pick the right game. If
Well,
they
You can
enhance
bank
it
on
and
the
everything.
brand of the original game. Yeah, that's why Resident Evil 4 won Game of the Year. Like these remakes do sell, and they are well received, well loved.
What
Um,
if
Some
what
of them
if-
don't work out. Some of them do.
No, absolutely. What if they change, like, so Scott and I talked about it just, I think it was last week. Neil Druckmann is not sure how many more of these games he's got in him, right? He's talking about The
Yeah.
Last of Us 1, Last of Us Part 2. That's because The Last of Us Part 2 took forever to build, right? It took forever to produce, and it's a
Because of the
very,
pandemic.
very long game, right?
Yeah.
Games are getting longer in length to complete, right? No longer are the days of, and there's an 8-hour game when we're done. It's now a 30, 40, 100-hour long game. What
But
if
the thing is,
what
the
if we just
making of
shrink
it, though, the thing is, it's the game as well. It's live actors, you know, with all the points on them, the CGI. It is doing a film, but you controlling the character or the protagonist.
But can you do the same thing in 8 hours instead of 30, Steve? Like,
I think that's what's going to happen. I think that's why you're seeing all these launchers. It's something like Assassin's Creed. Instead of being one game that's going to be 800 hours, take that, cut it up into slices, and then give you those slices over time, so it doesn't feel like you're sitting in the same game. Effectively, might be almost the same at the
The
end of the day.
Expanse did that. The
Perception.
Expanse did that with the storytelling,
oh,
didn't
so,
they dropped each
episodically, right?
episode. Yeah.
So, but the thing is, too, when you take a look at Hitman 2, for
Ooh,
prime
Hitman
example,
did that.
Hitman did
Yeah.
the same thing. Fans were not happy, right? They wanted the full experience. You want to jump in. But IO was looking at it like, here, what we're going to do is we're going to give you this level, this part of the story. Here's episode 1. Now go. And then go back. And the way, obviously, Hitman and IO work is that Hitman is meant to be replayed over and over and over again. And it's done extremely well. You can take out your target in 1,000 different ways. So they were hoping that would be enough time for the people to be in there to repeat that and to get
Ooh.
ready for episode 2. Except
They did it.
the fans were
Oh,
like,
they had an
"Can we
interesting
just get the
idea,
whole
though.
game?"
Yeah.
They
I was
really
going to
Hitman's
actually say,
a good example.
do you think they're going to do this for the 007?
No.
Because it's IO doing it. Do you think they're going to do it totally separate from the
No.
Hitman or the game mechanics?
I think I think they learned from Hitman. I think that we're going to get all one big chunk. But
Yeah.
I liked what Hitman did back in the day. I always think of the one, I forget what channel, the marketplace or something. It was Gary Busey is going through the market at 8:00 tonight. Like,
Mhm.
But with the
I
007,
loved that.
sorry, I was going to say with the 007 though, they can have so much DLC as well because you're building
There's
off a
100 movies to pull from.
popular. Exactly, they could always change your Bond character or make it. But it's all the
I think
missions
this one's
though.
his own unique Bond, actually. In the case
It
of
is,
James
but
Bond.
but you still how many stories you could come off of though
Absolutely.
off the
Steve, right?
franchise.
The DLC of this particular movie, right? The DLC of that one, Pierce Brosnan, and then you
Moonraker.
get into
Yeah.
well, exactly, right? And then you get into all the villains. You can pull those in with other. I'm really curious to see where IO goes next with the James Bond, what they do with Hitman. And obviously too, they're working on some kind of fantasy game right now too, on top of all of this stuff, right? So World of Assassination, which is the new Hitman, like they brought it all into one package as well, Scott. When you talk about, with Assassin's Creed Infinity and Call of Duty having their own little hub. Well, World of Assassination is the same thing now for Hitman. You get Hitman 1, 2, 3.
I'm so
there,
confused
right?
by that, though.
It-
the way
it's just
IO
one big package.
rolled those out.
Yeah. Oh, it was very confusing at the time. And then, man, you get in there and you're playing Freelancer. It is incredible. Now, quickly, guys, we have, believe it or not, just 15 minutes left. 15 minutes. Time flies. What does 2025 look like for you guys now? Say I know we're only into March,
Yep.
but if this is one of the worst years in gaming, how does 2025 look for you guys? Obviously, there's some pretty big things happening and dropping next year. Steven, kick it to you first. What do you got?
Ooh, what am I expecting for 2025? I wonder if there'll be any new hardware coming out. I'd be
I wonder if there'll be
interested.
any left developing games.
I don't know. Technology is always changing. Things are smaller. You get now the PS5 Slim now, and
Yeah.
I'm just curious to see what hardware, like whether it's VR's taken off really quick as well, and then I don't know. I'm interested in of the hardware, controllers, cameras, all that kind of thing. But obviously on the gaming front, it's gonna be what it's gonna be. You know, we see these game releases, we kind of get used to delays, we kind of get used to like not being totally complete, and you have to wait a year for the patches to all come out and get the game that you wanted from day one. But if any of that lot changes, that would be awesome for 2025.
That's fair.
That's a little hopeful there.
It certainly is.
I've kept my options wide there.
Yeah. No, I think you're onto something. Yeah, when it comes to hardware, some sort of innovation. I think that's what I'm hearing from you. Is it needs to be, maybe it's not VR. It wasn't 3D TVs. We got past that one a long time ago. But maybe there's something that
headphones or
I'm hoping Nintendo. I think Nintendo is the one out of the big three. Nintendo will be the one to innovate and give us whatever that gimmick is that might kind of boom sales once more. And I'm hoping it comes out of Nintendo, because I think 2025 is going to have to look, it's either going to look really grim and there's going to be nothing releasing because everything costs so much money to make and it takes forever, or that is true, but also PlayStation and Nintendo have been kind of held back a year and might be ready to kind of really ride 2025 upwards. And as long as certain games come out released properly, there's a whole lot of moving parts to that, but I think that might be the 2025. If we get the good ending, PlayStation and Nintendo come in and save the day with their exclusives, whether they want to put them on PC or not.
Yeah, no, that's fair. So,
actually, can I just add one more thing?
Yeah, of course.
I would like certain games that come out like Hogwarts and Starfield for the Game Awards, that they actually get nominated, or Xbox games. Shall I just say? That kind of thing.
Man.
What you want to see is an Xbox game make it to the Game of the Year discussion at the Game Awards, right? Because it doesn't. They haven't been.
Yeah, just get into the convo.
Man, yeah. It's funny. I take a look at this year and I go, okay, what do you guys have this year? This is your year to shine. Why? Because PlayStation's got nothing, Nintendo's got nothing. So now you should be going for the Game of the Year discussion. I don't think Indiana Jones pulls that off. I really don't. Avowed, possibly, right? Hellblade, I think, has a huge chance, a huge opportunity to be in that Game of the Year, right? Hellblade 2 is coming. And then they have Aura, which I think is only...
Is that?
Yeah, right? That is for a certain
What about that
crowd.
Clockwork? Is Clockwork Revolution, is that a console exclusive? Or am I mistaken?
It's an Xbox Studio. I can't remember if it's called Clockwork. I know which one you're talking about, though. It's from Compulsion Games, I believe. So
it's got a bunch of the BioShock people on it, and I hope that one hits out.
That is Judas. That's the one you're talking about.
I'm combining too many things now.
Oh, yeah. So that's the interesting lineup we've got for Xbox, right? Which then really kind of gives them the spotlight to take it and run for this year, for the Game Awards. So it makes it very interesting to see who they go up against, because we already know, like I say, right? The PlayStation doesn't have a first-party studio. Nothing there for a game. So then when you come into 2025, what do you have? You got Wolverine. I guarantee you we get Wolverine next year. You do not hear a word next year on PlayStation VR 2. It is sent out to die. That platform is gone. They're putting it on PCs because they want people to buy up what's remaining for stock and use it with the Meta, right? Use it with Meta Quest and that whole library, or with Vive and their library as well. But as far as PlayStation's concerned, I think they're done with PSVR 2. I would be shocked if they came out with PSVR 3, because I think PSVR 2 had it's a good system. There's just nobody is interested. They'd rather have the controller in their hands, not something on their face, and just be able to play.
Yeah.
Or PlayStation VR 3 is completely wireless. Right?
Yeah.
Like that's
going to be, I think that has to be the case.
But besides Wolverine coming out, you get Switch 2 next year. Nintendo cannot wait another year. They need Switch 2. It has to release, and it will sell huge. So that drops next year. You know what's
going to save the gaming industry?
GTA 6.
Grand Theft Auto 6. That's right.
Absolutely. Yeah. You want to talk about what's going to drop next year? Man, I don't know if you want to drop next year. You want to make it out this year because it's so damn quiet. You go next year, you're up against Switch 2, Good luck.
Oh,
You're up against
Switch 2 is
Wolverine.
not going to get GTA 6, is it?
No, it's not. And then you're up against GTA 6. Those are 3 heavy hitty. And then I'm going to go as far as, guys, I'm going this far. I'm calling it 2025 is the year Playground Games gives us Fable.
Oh man, yeah, Xbox does have a few things hiding away.
They're cooking. Where's
Fable,
Everwild?
Perfect Dark.
Perfect Dark, right? They have these games cooking. They are lined up for this year. Xbox, Phil Spencer, Matt Booty said our game plan, everything's starting to come together now. It's starting to roll. We're starting to get there. So they're lining up. They've got, I think, a decent lineup, a strong lineup for this year. Then what's that set them up into next year? Fable, Perfect Dark. What's coming out of the Coalition, right? Where's Everwild? Yep. There's a lot of questions going on. Next year, you talk about PlayStation. What's coming out? Bluepoint, working on something. Ben Studio, working on something, right? We got Wolverine out of Insomniac. Gorilla, do we see their Monster Hunter-esque Horizon MMO? Whatever that's supposed to be? We might see it. I don't think we get it. Where I think next year, we get Ben's game. I think Ben Studio drops their game next year. It's been a very long time since Days Gone has been gone. So it's time to go. Ghost of Tsushima 2 gets revealed next year. I think next year is going to be an incredible year. I think this year we go quiet.
We'll get a lot of trailers. Yeah, a lot of trailers next year.
Do you think we'll see these release, are you saying? Or do you think we'll just see a lot of these as a gear up for the next year even?
We get it next year. I think we get
that
it.
one, I agree.
Right? Everwild, I'm not too confident on that one.
What do you think? Premiere Game Awards.
Well, yeah. Yeah, right?
Well,
now.
Exclusive.
Premiere.
Yeah. But no, I think we get, honestly, I think we get Fable. I think we get Wolverine from Insomniac. Whatever Ben Studio's working on, I think we get their next game. Right? So there's that. Coalition. How long has it been since we got Gears 5? I don't think we get theirs yet. Perfect Dark. I wouldn't be surprised if we see that game next year. We don't get it, but we see it, which then sets it up for 2026. Right?
When was that revealed? Like,
dude, that was revealed a long time ago. Absolutely.
It's
Trouble
Waters.
Like
the same day as we learned about Metroid Prime 4 as well. It was like a flash on the screen and then that was it.
So think about this, right? If we get Switch 2, GTA 6, Wolverine, Fable, whatever Ben's working on, there's 5 heavy swinging games in consoles, platforms, this, that, and the other. Next year's going to be huge.
Interesting.
Last year was huge, right? September comes, September became so damn busy that people started to move out of the way. It's like, yo, we're just going to bounce out of here. Here comes Starfield. We know you're all looking forward to it. We are going to miss sales. Left, right, and center. We're out.
Isn't that when Spider-Man came out too? September?
October. It
was October. Okay.
Just a little bit out of September, and then Spider-Man dropped.
Blurs together so heavy because it was such a
Mirage was
year.
there too in that discussion.
Yeah.
Like, man, there's just so much. And don't forget too, we got Star Wars Outlaws this year and Assassin's Creed Red.
Yeah.
This year
Big
isn't
games,
a bad
open world
year. Yes, time
sinks. More open world.
Yeah, right. It's gearing up to be a good gaming year. I'm just hoping that the better the year gets, it also gets better for developers because it's been a rough start and continuous layoffs. But Scott and I talk about it often how this is the fall of the pandemic catching up to the developers.
Yeah.
Where they've gone in too hard, too many, right? And this is when Helldivers, this team over there at Arrowhead, are like, whoa, we didn't expect this. We need to hire more people. Please don't hire too many. Because I don't want to see you then go, okay, we brought on too many. Now we got to lay these people off because we were riding a high and now we plateaued.
Keep up with demand. It's keeping up with demand, isn't it? Yeah.
I'm getting a picture of traffic jams in my head now. If everybody's tapping the brake irresponsibly, you end up with a traffic jam on the highway and nobody's moving. And that's what kind of happened with the video game industry.
Bottleneck.
Everybody kind of speeds up. We've got a pandemic. Everybody's playing games. Everybody on board. But we went too fast. Now we got to jam the brakes, and that's not looking nice. So I'm not sure if this is going to be resolved this year or not. But being a video game developer feels somewhat like a thankless job nowadays. And when you think of the Game Awards and things like that. So I'm hoping the Game Awards this year kind of turns that around and at least gives these people the respect that they deserve. The ones that survive this culling.
It's not an easy industry to be a part of, without a doubt, right? Like, we don't make games, but still, to do what we do isn't easy either. But to be a developer is even worse. Yeah. And the credit that they deserve and don't see, like, that's hard. Like, that is hard, man. When did I finish? I finished Suicide Squad, right? So I finished Suicide Squad. The credits just continue to roll and roll and roll, right? And there's so many names in there, and it's incredible to see how many people it takes to produce a game. Whether you like the Suicide Squad or not, we liked it more than we expected here, which was a bit of a shock in itself. But it's not, obviously, it's got issues. I'm not saying it's a great game by any means, but just to watch the amount of people go on there and go through that credits, and you just sit there and I wait 20 minutes. And it's still going. I'm like, holy man, there's so many names here. So many unheard of, so many unrecognized, right? When you talk about who's at this studio, we talk about Neil Druckmann all the time, right? Over Naughty Dog. Yeah. But yet, if you pull up The Last of Us 2 and The Last of Us 1, watch the amount of names that you scroll through. Yeah. It'll blow your mind how many people work on these games. So it takes a lot of talent and a lot of time to make these. Maybe we just need to make them smaller, I think, is the other side of it, right? What if we just downsize them? Don't give us a 30-hour game. It's exhausting.
But then drop the price. Smaller game.
Well,
no, you have to make it sustainable though, and that's kind of
Oh, that's a whole other discussion. I want it to return. Steve. Don't do that.
Yeah, I do want it to return to smaller games though, because those smaller games, and maybe this is just a personal opinion, but they hit harder sometimes, more often I would say. And there's certain experiences that I can think back to. I'm gonna say Brothers: A Tale of Two Sons, not the remaster. However, I've heard that one's not so good, but it's those experiences that I have real gratitude towards these developers for. It's easy to kind of forget that much care and work goes into it, but that game broke my heart, man. I still think about it. But
the other way around as well. We're fortunate that we get codes to review games. Absolutely. You know, but when you're sort of paying $80-$90 for a game you've been saving up for, do you really want it to finish in 10 hours, or would you like it to be more of an open world and you can just keep playing and crafting?
I'm looking at that's a very valid question.
If we were like had to pick a game and pay for, you have to pick very wisely.
I agree with you there, and I think there's two different opinions on that. Mine, however, I'm looking at Alan Wake 2 on my console. It took me several weeks of just saving a little bit here and there to buy it, and I want that to be about 7 to 10 hours. If it goes on too long, I'm going to be disappointed.
Yeah, I think we'll have to bring this back around. I think for another podcast, another Gamecast would be a good opportunity to bring this into a deeper discussion, right? Because like it is right now, guys, that's going to pretty well wrap up our show today. It's been a ton of fun. We love hanging out with everybody. We're glad to be here every Monday night. Actually, at 7:30, you can join us. We'll be here. So make sure you swing by, join us over on YouTube, Inside the Game Official. A couple things are coming in the near future to change some of things up, but either way, we're always here to talk. Always love to talk about video games. This is why we do this, right? But getting back to your thing, we do get a lot of games for free. I've also bought a lot of games this year too. So it's been this year and last year I purchased a lot of games. We all didn't get Hogwarts codes, so I gave you guys codes. I went and bought my own. It's one of those I gotta play this game, right? So it's just one of those things. But yeah, how long does that money need to last? That's another time for another podcast in the Gamescast. But until then, everybody, thank you for hanging out with us. I'm Drew. That's Steve, and that's Scott. We'll be back tomorrow with ITG Daily.
And we'll see you inside the game.